Yo, what is going on, guys? Bobby here, and today, move my mic a little bit closer, we have a prediction video. Now, there are 3 big events throughout the entire Brawl year outside of monthly finals. There is MSI, aka Brawl Cup, which is the mid-season tournament, LCQ, which is last chance qualifiers, and then, of course, World Finals. Now, this is probably, outside of World Finals, the most intense tournament of the entire year because 12 teams out of 16 in this tournament, their years are going to be over. Everything is going to be done, and they are going to play at their highest level, all 16 of them, to see what 4 move on to Worlds. Now, in this video, we're just going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to go over the teams, who faces who I think is going to win, who has the upper edge, what I've been hearing, and all that. So let's get into it. Now, to start off, just some really basic stuff so you guys know this. Let's look at Group A, just so I can show you guys how this all happens. So the top team, let's take Inner Circle, is always going to face the bottom team, Revenant X Spark. So then obviously that means Crazy Raccoon is going to face Lore, who I think is now New Heights Gaming. But yeah, you guys get it. So the top faces the bottom, and then the 2 middle seeds play. After that, the 2 losers go on and face each other. So let's just say Crazy Raccoon and Inner Circle both lost their match. They would face each other. Loser is out, and then winner moves up. And well, who do they face? Well, they face the loser of the winners match. So Lore and Revenant X Spark would be the winners in this example. The winner of that moves on to day 2, whereas the loser faces the winner of the losers game. Now, I hope that made sense, because when I talked about it out loud, it did sound a little bit confusing, but I did say everything kind of slowly and properly. So that is the math for who faces who in the groups. And then after that, on day 2, the 1 seed from Group A faces the 2 seed in Group B. Now, I hope that all made sense. It may have sounded a little bit complicated out loud, but once you understand it, it's really easy. And then the Group A teams face Group C in day 2, and Group B faces Group D. So the 1 seed from Group A faces the 2 seed from Group C. The 2 seed from Group A faces the 1 seed from Group C. And it's the same thing for B and D. Now, how does everything work? So this is the day 1 schedule that we have. So everyone is going to have their original matches. So like I said, Inner Circle versus Revenant X Spark, which if we go over here, you guys can see is the top team versus the lower team. So everyone's going to have their original matches, and then we are going to go into the elimination match, which is what I said before. Every group is going to have 2 losers, and then the 2 losers go on and face each other. Loser is out, and the winner has 1 more chance to make it. Think about it like this. You basically have 2 lives until you make it to the final day. So we're not going to see anyone make it to the final day on day number 1, but we're going to see 4 teams get eliminated from LCQ. Then moving on to day 2, you guys are going to have the winners matches first. So the 2 teams that win versus each other, which in our example was Lore versus Revenant, they would face each other. That's going to happen for all the groups first. And then you have the decider matches. These are going to show who go on to day 3. And then the losers, well, they lose and they're out. And then finally, you have day 3, which is just 4 games. Winners make it to Worlds. Losers, well, they just don't make it to anything. So before we get too into my predictions, these are all the teams that are going to be playing. Some teams that stand out to me here are Casa Brawl. Casa has Motep, P.E.K.K.A, and Doritos. All of these guys, they've been at so many tournaments. They've played a lot. They had a bad year, I can't lie. Like, they didn't have a great year for their standards, but I still think they are really good players, and they definitely have a chance to make it out. Team Electros from NA, obviously, I think they're really good. They're going to have Diego Gamer, Izlivy, and Rafiki playing. Bilal, honestly, I think he's a very strong player, so to miss Bilal is really bad for them, but I still do think they can make it out. Navi, obviously, they have good players, but they are traveling really late, and a lot of people might think this doesn't matter, but jet lag usually kicks in after 3 days. So if they're landing tomorrow, which is going to be Wednesday, 3 days of jet lag is going to hit perfectly for them on game day. And, you know, some people might not think this is a big deal. I think this is a really big deal. When you are traveling from Japan all the way to Brazil and you are not getting the proper rest, the proper adjustments, I think it's going to be very difficult to perform. Crazy Raccoon, obviously, I think they're going to make it. These guys are insane. They have world champions on the team. Rival as well. They, honestly, from what I've heard, are the strongest team there so far. So it looks like the Asian teams are actually, specifically the East Asian teams, are very, very strong at this LCQ. Then you have Inner Circle. I've heard a lot of good things about Inner Circle as well. You know, they have a really good coach. Mebius and Nob, even Rama are pretty good players. Same with all the other EU teams, to be honest. Now, I can't lie. I haven't, seen too much about NXT. I can't say, I think they're going to qual, because to be honest, I don't. But I haven't watched them enough to have an actual opinion. But the 9th seed, I mean, it could be from Europe, but the 9th seed of any region probably doesn't make it. Totem, obviously, great team. All three of these players are studs. Papara, ever since they got enraged, they've looked really good. So I also think they can make it. Like, there's a lot of teams that I do think can make it. I've named, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I think have a good chance of making it. KDS, I'm not too sure on, to be honest, or Revenant, just because I haven't really seen them play too much. But Revenant has come top 8 at Worlds, so I don't see a world where they are going to go down without a fight. Toxic Lotus, they beat Tribe this year, so they're obviously going to be super difficult to beat. And then we have no idea what either of these teams, Chapter of Happiness or New Heights Gaming, can bring to the table. So it's going to be a pretty intense, I think, and pretty competitive LCQ, more competitive than a lot of the other years. So I guess we'll just stick with this website, because this website is going to show things really clearly for us. So as you guys know, I have to pick teams from every group who I think is going to be the 1 seed and the 2 seed. And then after that, I'm going to say who I think qualifies. So starting off with Group A, I just don't see how I don't take Crazy Raccoon as the 1 seed. Now, to be honest, I do think they have a pretty difficult path. Like, all things considered, what you're looking for when you are at an international tournament is, like, can you just get one break? Can you get one game where you're probably just above them in level, so you can kind of not go easy on them, but just prepare less versus them, so you can put more preparation on another team. But I just don't see that for Crazy Raccoon. So they have to face Revenant, who is tough. I am going to have to go with Crazy Raccoon still to win that game. And then I'm definitely going to take Inner Circle over New Heights Gaming. So that would make the losers game New Heights versus Revenant. I say Revenant wins that, so Revenant avoids elimination and New Heights gets eliminated from Group A. And then Crazy Raccoon versus Inner Circle, I honestly have zero idea. I think I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Crazy Raccoon. And the reason I say that is purely because of Tensai. And I mean, I know the team is great, but Tensai's a world champion. I think he's going to elevate his level once he is like at these big tournaments, and he's going to show that he's still got some of that old Tensai blood in him. So then that makes it Inner Circle versus Revenant X Spark. And this, I honestly think, would be a really, really, really competitive game. And I honestly have no idea where this would go, but I'm gonna give the edge to Inner Circle just because they're from Europe. That's like literally the only reason why. I think they just have more practice all year against good teams. So I have Crazy Raccoon as the 1 seed and Inner Circle as the 2 seed. Group B, this one is probably going to be the easiest group to predict. I don't know what it is, but it always feels like Navi, the org, just gets like a pretty free group for some reason. But anyways, you have Totem versus Chapter of Happiness. I'm obviously going to have to take Totem in that one. And then you have Navi versus Upcore, and I'm going to have to take Navi. Now, Chapter of Happiness versus Upcore is going to be a pretty interesting game, to be honest. I don't expect either of these teams to qualify to Worlds. I actually probably give them 2 of the lower chances to qualify to Worlds. But that doesn't mean I think they're bad teams. I just don't think they have enough experience playing in these high-level games to go all the way. I'm going to go Chapter of Happiness because China's just look good, and I'm just going to assume that it's China the region is getting better, not just Toxic Lotus. But yeah, regardless of who wins this match, I have them both getting grouped. You know, no offense to these teams. And I think I'm going to have Totem coming first place and then Navi coming second place in this group. Now we're moving on to Group C, and Group C is a very interesting group for me, to be honest. This one is really the group that I'm most interested in. So Casa, I do think they're a good team from Brazil. I think they're really strong. I especially believe in Pekka. I know he's still one of the best players in the Americas, not just South America, but South America and North America. And Motep, he's a good drafter, all that stuff. Doritos is Doritos, so he's the GOAT. But Rival, again, I've heard they're the best team here. I've heard Terry is like low-key insane. And then they also have Icy, right? Yeah, they do have Icy. Icy, I've watched him play, and I've never scrimmed him or anything like that, but he seems to be really good, at least from watching. And then Mameshi, he's been playing for so long. He knows what to do. But then you also have Toxic Lotus, who was able to beat Tribe. And if my memory serves me correct, didn't they go to set 5 versus SK? Maybe I got that wrong, but I think they did. And then Experion, I mean, again, I don't know too much about them. But yeah, this is going to be tough. So we have NXT versus Casa. I'm going to have to take Casa with the win here and moving on to the winners game. And then I'm going to have to take Rival over Toxic Lotus. But Rival versus Toxic Lotus is probably easily going to be the best day 1 match that we're going to get by a mile. I guess IC and Revenant is also a really good day 1 match. But yeah, I'm going to have to take Rival in this one. I think, although Toxic Lotus, like, they looked like a top 5 team at, well, they were a top 5 team at Brawl Cup. So this one's just going to be super competitive. But I'm going to go Casa and Rival as my winners. Then I'm going to take Toxic Lotus over NXT and Rival over Casa. So this is going to make Toxic Lotus versus Casa in the decider match. And honestly, I think I'm going to go with Toxic Lotus in this. I am cheering for Casa. I have absolutely nothing against anyone on these teams, but I would just like to see Pekka make worlds. He's the GOAT. He is the real Gustavo. So yeah, I have Toxic Lotus and Rival coming out of this group. Rival being the 1 seed, Lotus being the 2 seed. But I am cheering for Casa. And then Group D, which is another interesting one. We have BC versus Team Electros. I'm going to be biased to NA and say Team Electros takes that win. And then Papara Supermassive versus KDS. I'm going to go with Papara. I think BC does beat KDS in the losers match. And I do think Papara beats Team Electros. This one's going to be interesting because none of these teams really have that much LAN experience. If I'm going to be honest, I think groups B and D have a strong advantage because not only are groups A and C, in my opinion, better, but they also face each other in elimination match. So, like, you know, B and D definitely have a pretty big advantage here. But I'm going to say Papara is the 1 seed and Team Electros is the 2 seed in this group. Okay, so this is about as neat as I can make it for you guys. The graphic still has STMN in it, who moved on to Worlds, and we have Team Electros, you know, kind of colored over it. But yeah, so we have Group A versus Group C. This is all going to be on the final day. And then Group B versus Group D. 1 seed faces 2 seeds, right? So Crazy Raccoon faces Toxic Lotus. Inner Circle faces Rival. You guys get how it works. Now, Crazy Raccoon versus Toxic Lotus is going to be an intense game. Any type of game where Group A faces Group C is going to be a super intense game. And literally nothing matters. Like, once you reach the last day, nothing you did in day 1 matters. Literally nothing. You could have beaten the 3 best teams. You can't face 3 teams, but you could have faced the 2 best teams in the tournament, beat both of them, lose to one random team in the last day. Done. You lose. It doesn't matter. So anyways, I am going to go out on a limb. I'm going to make a wild prediction because I feel like it. And I'm going to say that Rival and Toxic Lotus beat both the Group A teams and advance to World Finals. Now, I know I'm picking against Europe. I know I'm picking against Tensai and Crazy Raccoon, but I was very impressed with Toxic Lotus at Brawl Cup. I think they can continue it. And from what I've been hearing about how good Rival is, I don't see how I can pick against them right now. So I have those 2 teams making it. And then looking at Group B, we have Totem and Navi as the 1 and 2 seed. Totem would go against Team Electros, and Navi would go against Papara Supermassive. I'm going to have to take Totem against Team Electros. I would like NA to do well, but I just don't see it. Like, everyone on Totem, they've been playing at World Finals and stuff for years and years and years, and they have that experience. Meanwhile, Team Electros, they do have his Livy, but it is both Diego and Rafiki's first time playing at a LAN. I think to make it, you know, to day 3 is somewhat of an accomplishment in and of itself. But I think it might just be too tall of a task. Now, they definitely do have the skill to do it. I think all 3 of the players are really good, so I think it's possible. I'm not writing them off. I just don't think anyone in Group B or D do I see beating Totem on stage when all the marbles are on the table and everything matters. And then finally, we have Papara Supermassive versus Navi. Now, I'm really worried for Papara, to be honest. I don't think they're this, like, godly, unstoppable team, but given who they face, I think I'm going to have them making worlds. I do think they win Group D, and then I think they beat Navi. Now, if things are swapped and it's Papara versus Totem and STMN versus Navi, like, you know, things would be a lot different. I would probably take Totem and TE to make it. That's why seeding matters so much. It's always important to win your group. But this is just weird. I honestly think any of the 4 teams I picked from Group A or C would low-key beat any of the 4 teams from Group B or D. But that's just the way luck is sometimes. Sometimes you just, you know, face easier people. Sometimes you just face harder people. That's part of esports, sadly. So, yeah, my 4 teams that I think make worlds are Rival, Toxic Lotus, Totem, and Papara. If I go 4 for 4, I'm going to be not, you know, super happy, but I'm going to be proud of myself that I predicted it well. But that is going to be it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.